Hey everyone, it's Philip, and we are back today with another session of Philip in the Cloud. And today's session is going to be a follow-up of last time's session, which was about Unnest and kind of unpacking JSON data. And along with my colleagues at Voltron Data, we kind of put our heads together and came up with some APIs around dealing with kind of maps and arrays of JSON that are kind of even easier than what we showed last time. So let's fire up. We fired up IPython already. We're going to import some things, and then we're going to connect to our Snowflake database. And in this video, I'm showing Snowflake's sample data, and they have a neat weather data set in there. And as usual, you can say con.tables, and you get this nice formatted list of tables that are in your database, and then you can access them using attribute access here. So I'm just going to call this T. And whoops, let's turn on interactive mode. You can see we have a table that's got two columns, one JSON, one timestamp. And already right away it's like, okay, we've got some nested objects. Thankfully, we've got one column that looks sane, a timestamp column. And you can do kind of the usual things, right? You can say year, and that gives you back the year of the timestamp column. Let's look at T again. But what if you wanted to know the keys of the first JSON object, first row in the V column? So you'd say TV, right? And there's not a whole lot of methods, on V itself, right? So we've got a few methods, but there's nothing in here that's sort of like how do we get the keys out of that, right? We know it's a JSON object, but we don't know what to do. And so last time we showed sort of casting, right? We said like cast to a map of string to JSON, and then that sort of gets you like to keys and so forth. But when you have to do this a bunch of times, right? Let's say you have to cast this, and then you want to look in clouds, right? And then that's JSON again, so then you have to cast that again to a map of string to JSON, or in this case, maybe we could cast it to a map of string to int, and that sort of does the thing. But you don't. It becomes really sort of cumbersome and unwieldy to do this over and over again. So we've added a new property called map that just does this cast for you. Um, and if we look at the SQL here to compare these two, ibis.show underscore SQL, right? We've got this basically checks if it's an object, and then in this case does nothing. Otherwise, it's null. We don't need to cast because Snowflake's objects are effectively maps of string to JSON. And then if we look at the same thing for map, it's equivalent up to, but not including the name that's generated for the expression. Same code, minus the name. So it's kind of doing the same exact thing. And so this makes it a lot easier to chain these operations more succinctly. So now we've got our map, and it kind of looks the same, but we can say, keys, and then we can, say stick a limit on the table at the beginning, and then we've got this, and so then we can say unnest, and now we've got the keys for the first row of JSON in that table. So we've got city, clouds, main, time, weather, and wind. I don't know what main is exactly. We could poke around there. But let's say you wanted to look at the cloud cover for every city or something like that. Or let's say you want to do a validation step. You want to check to see, whether clouds is actually like excuse me, a percentage. So we could say we could go into t.v clouds, And it kind of looks like it's you know somewhere between maybe 0 and 100 as a percentage. We can kind of verify that, and we can say so now this is a JSON object, so we need to get the map of that. And it looks like we've got some commentary coming in. Funny. And let's go. We've got our map, so now we can access all, which is going to give us JSON, and then we can cast that to int. And then why don't we project this out into a column? So we'll say select, and we'll call this cloud. And then we will do an aggregation. Let's use underscore here, and then we'll do an aggregation. We'll say min cloud, cloud.min, max cloud, cloud.max. Hopefully this is relatively quick. There's actually a decent amount of data here, so let's see what happens. I will talk through the video. Right, and so a lot of the times data like this kind of comes from data sets that are generated from like kind of outside of your control, like an API or some vendor that's going to give you a data set that you just don't have any control over, and maybe they give it to you in JSON form or some other nested form, and you need to kind of just do some analysis with it in whatever kind of database vendor you're working with. In this case, it's Snowflake. And looks like this is going to take a bit. I think there's something like 1 billion rows in this table. I don't remember exactly. The other accessor that we've added, which I'll show off here in a second, if we ever get to it, is the array accessor, which you say dot array, and similar to dot map, it kind of casts your JSON object to an array of JSON, which allows you to work with methods like unnest and slicing and element offsets using square bracket Python syntax. Well, this is just taking a very long time. Let's give it a few more seconds. Maybe it'll eke out something here. All right. Let's give it a few more. It's taken a while. All right. Well, clearly I didn't plan for this, but that's okay. Oh, great. So, well, it looks like we've got some kind of bizarre, either like I don't understand what the unit is going on in that cloud column, which is almost certainly the case, or it's wrong in some way, but it's probably not a percentage. I don't know. Maybe somebody who understands weather better than me can can correct me. But as always, you can look at the SQL for this with show SQL. You can see it's kind of doing a bunch of munging and coalesce and this and that, and then computing the min and max of that cloud column. Now let's see if we can look at array here with this data set. I'm not sure if we've got any arrays going on here. Maybe in weather. Let's see, weather. Okay, cool. So it looks like we have some JSON arrays here. So before, again, we had to do cast array of JSON, and it we repr it the same way, and then you can kind of do unnest, and that'll give you some more useful information. But we've got an array of JSON, so unnest that and you get JSON. It's kind of just JSON all the way down. And so instead of casting, now you can just say a dot array, and that gives you access to all the array methods. And we can see, let's cast and then show the SQL. Again, it's checking to see whether it's an array. And then if we just do dot array, we should see something similar, but not including the name. Let's just give them the same name so that we can actually get the same exact SQL. Let's say cast array JSON. And then we'll say dot name X. Okay, and now if we put dot array in there, we should get the same code. And yep, we get the same code there. So that's pretty nice. We've made that a lot more convenient. That is pretty much it for today. I just wanted to give you guys a follow-up and on what we did last time. Thanks for joining the stream, and subscribe and follow me on all the things. I will see everyone next week. Enjoy.